Welcome, car lovers. What does it mean to be a gentleman's carriage in an age of disposable appliances? For the better part of 5 decades, we understood the hierarchy of the road. There was a certain dignity in the 3-box sedan, a silhouette that suggested the occupant was a person of substance, someone who valued the mechanical integrity of a rear-wheel drive chassis and the smooth, linear progression of a proper engine. But look around a modern car park today, and you will see a sea of indistinguishable, high-riding bubbles, front-wheel drive silhouettes that possess all the soul of a microwave oven. We are told that the sedan is dead, that the driver's car is a relic of a bygone era, and that we should all be content with screens the size of a billboard and steering that feels like a simulation of a simulation. Yet standing before us is a machine that feels like a quiet, dignified rebellion. It is the 2026 Mazda 6, and it is asking a very poignant question: has the world finally regained its senses? Or is this merely a beautiful ghost haunting an industry that has moved on? To understand why this car matters, we must look back to a time when Mazda was not merely a manufacturer of sensible family transport, but a house of engineering mavericks. Do you remember the 626? It was a car that didn't just compete with the giants, it out-thought them. Then came the original Mazda 6 in the early 2000s. A car that arrived with a level of tactile precision that made the contemporary BMW 3 Series look nervously over its shoulder. It was a car for the man who understood that a commute didn't have to be a sentence of boredom. It was the Zoom era, yes. But beneath the marketing fluff was a genuine commitment to the relationship between the driver's hands and the front wheels. However, as the years rolled on, the industry took a turn for the cynical. Efficiency became a euphemism for cost-cutting. Character was traded for connectivity. But while others were busy perfecting their software, Mazda stayed in the shed, perfecting the hardware. They have spent the last decade moving upwind, ignoring the trends, and refining the art of the internal combustion engine. This new Mazda 6 is the culmination of that stubbornness. It is a rear-wheel drive sedan with an inline-six engine, a configuration that was once the gold standard of the Bavarian elite, now discarded by them in favor of 4-cylinder hybrids and electric curiosities. Observe the silhouette of this machine. In a world of aggressive styling, which is usually a polite way of saying the car looks like it was designed by a frustrated teenager with a ruler, the Mazda 6 is an exercise in profound restraint. There are no fake plastic vents here. There are no jagged lines that lead nowhere. It is governed by what the Japanese call kodo design. But to those of us who appreciate traditional proportions, it is simply correct. Because it is built on a rear-wheel drive platform, the front wheels have been pushed forward, creating that long, elegant dash-to-axle ratio that defines every great car from the E-Type to the 5 Series of the late 90s. The hood stretches out toward the horizon, suggesting a longitudinal engine of significant potency beneath. The roofline flows in a single, uninterrupted arc, and the rear haunches have a subtle swell that implies strength without shouting about it. It possesses a genuine presence, a term often misused by marketing departments, but here it is earned. It does not demand your attention with flashing lights or garish grills. It earns it through the sheer harmony of its shapes. It is art, not an ornament. Stepping inside is where the budget BMW moniker truly begins to feel like an insult to the Mazda. For years, we have watched the German marques descend into a madness of glossy black plastic and haptic feedback buttons that require the dexterity of a concert pianist to operate at 70 miles per hour. Mazda has looked at this digital dystopia and said, "Number the interior of the 2026. Mazda 6 is a sanctuary for those of us who still believe a car should be operated by feel, rather than by sight. There is a screen, yes, but it is tucked away, integrated into the dashboard, rather than being slapped onto it like an afterthought. More importantly, it is not a touchscreen while the car is in motion. You control it via a solid, weighted rotary dial on the center console. It is an interface that respects your intelligence and your safety. The materials are remarkable. There is real wood, real leather, and real metal. When you press a button for the climate control, and thank the heavens, they are physical buttons. There is a mechanical click that suggests it will still be clicking in 20 years' time. The seating position is low, placing your center of gravity where it belongs, and the steering wheel is a simple, elegant circle, unburdened by 84 different switches for lane, keep assist and voice commands. It is a cockpit designed for driving, not for scrolling. There is a tactile honesty here that has been bled out of almost every other car in this price bracket. You do not feel like you are sitting inside a computer. You feel like you are sitting inside a finely crafted piece of furniture that happens to be capable of 150 miles per hour. But a car of this pedigree is defined by what happens when you press the starter button. In an era where even high-end luxury cars are moving toward buzzy, turbocharged 4 cylinders, Mazda has done something truly formidable. They have built an inline-six to the uninitiated. This might seem like a minor detail. To those of us who have spent a lifetime behind the wheel, it is everything. An inline-six is naturally balanced. It does not need the complex balance shafts or the electronic trickery required to make a V6 or a 4-cylinder feel smooth. It is inherently harmonious. As you pull away, there is a creamy, effortless delivery of power that no electric motor can replicate. It isn't just about the speed, it is about the manner in which that speed is delivered. There is a mechanical symphony occurring under that long hood, a muted, sophisticated growl that reminds you that you are operating a machine of high complexity and even higher refinement. On the open road, the Mazda 6 reveals its true character. The steering is not the hyperactive, nervous rack you find in many modern sporty cars. It is deliberate. It has weight and a sense of center that inspires confidence. When you encounter a pothole, the kind that would send a shudder through a modern Mercedes with its oversized wheels and rubber-band tires, the Mazda simply breathes over it. The suspension has been tuned by people who clearly understand that firm does not always mean good. There is a suppleness to the ride, a secondary ride quality that masks the imperfections of our crumbling infrastructure without ever feeling disconnected. It tracks straight and true at 70 miles per hour, with wind and road noise suppressed to a level that allows for a conversation held in hushed tones. It is a car that makes a 400-mile journey feel like a pleasant afternoon stroll. In the corners, the rear-wheel drive architecture pays dividends. There is a balance to the chassis that no front-wheel drive car, no matter how clever its differential, can ever hope to match. As you turn in, the front end feels light and precise, while the rear pushes you through the apex with a subtle, predictable rotation. It doesn't fight you, it works with you. It is a reminder of why we fell in love with driving in the first place. It isn't about Enfairburgering lap times or lateral G-forces. It's about the sensation of a machine responding to your inputs with grace and transparency. This is not a budget version of anything. In many ways, it is the car the 5 Series used to be before it became an overweight technology showcase. We must, however, apply the BS filter. No car is perfect, and Mazda is still a smaller player in a global game of giants. The infotainment system, while noble in its simplicity, might feel a decade old to those who want their car to be a rolling smartphone. The rear seat space, while adequate, is not as cavernous as some of its front wheel drive rivals because the longitudinal engine and the rear drive components take up physical room. And then there is the question of the badge. There will be those who cannot see past the Mazda logo, who believe that status is something you buy with a German key fob. They will look at the price tag, which, while lower than a BMW, is still a significant sum, and they will hesitate. They will worry about what the neighbors think. But that is precisely why this car is so important. It is a litmus test for the modern motorist. If you are the kind of person who values the opinion of your neighbor over the sensation of a perfectly balanced chassis, then this car is not for you. If you believe that luxury is measured by the number of pixels on your dashboard, look elsewhere. But if you are a person who remembers when engineering meant the pursuit of mechanical perfection rather than the optimization of a lease payment, then the 2026 Mazda 6 is a revelation. It is a car that refuses to apologize for being a car. It doesn't try to be a lounge, it doesn't try to be an office, and it certainly doesn't try to be an environmental savior through virtue signaling hybrid badges. It is a machine designed to transport human beings with dignity, comfort, and a touch of soul. It is an anachronism in the best possible sense. It is a bridge back to a time when we expected more from our cars than just connectivity. Is it a future classic in a world that is rapidly legislating the internal combustion engine into the history books? An inline-six rear-wheel drive sedan is a unicorn. It is the final flourish of an era of motoring that we will likely never see again. It is a buy. Not because it is the most logical choice on a spreadsheet, but because it is the right choice for the spirit. It is a car that you will park, and then find yourself turning back to look at one more time before you walk away. It is a reminder that while the king might have lost his mind, there is a new contender in the wings who still remembers what the crown was for. The 2026 Mazda 6 isn't just the budget BMW we've been waiting for. It is quite possibly the car BMW should have been building all along. It is a triumph of engineering truth over marketing hype. And in 2026, that is the most remarkable feat of all.